I already introduced to you the phenomenological method of Vedanta. What does it mean? See, basically the primary departure from Western philosophy about consciousness in Vedanta is, it is neither structural nor relational nor, you can say, representational, which means intentional. It stands by itself. In its light the mind functions. This is what Vedanta holds. The fact that you are thinking, you are having conscious experiences, points to the fact of consciousness being there, and it is independent of the mind. In fact, tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati, the Upanishads say, which means it is due to the fact of consciousness that the mind is becoming conscious. The body is getting enlivened. You are having conscious experiences in the outer world. Now you are asking for an explanation of that conscious experience without referring to consciousness standing behind the mind. How will you find it? So the phenomenological method, primarily it is an inductive, qualitative, open-ended research method which is concerned with the experience, with the study of experience from the standpoint of the experiencer. How does something feel to me? Bracketing out all other assumptions, presumptions, all other methods, primarily how does something feel to me? That data is most important for phenomenological experience, phenomenological study, and this is one of the primary methods of philosophy being used for subjective phenomena like consciousness. So when you have this kind of an approach, epistemologically speaking, this relies entirely on personal knowledge and subjectivity, isn't it? If I have to ask how an experience feels to me, I must have an understanding of how I am functioning and a deeply subjective understanding. So it relies on both of this, and it relies entirely on personal perspective and interpretation. Finally, I can tell best what is happening in my system and how this system is functioning. So entire yoga, if you see, it is subscribing to this kind of a method. How is it that I function? How is it that I know? We studied mind and perception. Basically, what is it trying to see? How is it that I perceive? Before I jump and say, this is one particular thing, I must know all the factors responsible for that perception for me to authenticize that experience, to make it authentic. Otherwise, I might have added something to it. I might have removed something for it. I told you, if your attention is flitting, you cannot grasp anything. So the whole point comes to this, that phenomenological approach becomes very important in studying subjective phenomena. Now I am going to try this phenomenological approach right here on you. We will try a few thought experiments in order to understand this method. Another understanding of phenomena before we go into the thought experiment is that how things are appearing to your consciousness. See, I will just give you one small understanding here. Think about it clearly and see. Whenever you see an object, you are seeing that object as it is appearing to your five senses. Now suppose I am seeing this pen. This appears like a blue pen to me. To my senses, which are able to track, especially this eye, which is able to track the visible light range, this is appearing as blue. To some other creatures, if they were introduced here, this would appear as something totally different, depending on their faculties of perception. To me also, suppose I had UV light, capacity to sensitivity towards UV light, this would appear something very different. If I had capacity to catch infrared radiation or radio waves, the whole world would appear something totally different. So my perception is limited by my senses, and whatever I am equipped to perceive, that much only I can perceive. This table appears like a table to me. To an ant moving there, this will appear like a mountain, isn't it? To a bird flying there, this is a speck. To a mite or a wasp, this may be just a pixelated something, not a table. To a cockroach, it is something else. With its compound eyes, it perceives something totally different. To our five senses, this is a table. So, what is this actually? This much you should be able to draw from this, that my perception is limited by my equipment and I am equipped to perceive in a certain particular way. First thing about perception. Second thing is, always the perception occurs in my awareness. Because I am aware, I perceive things, like I am perceiving this table here. So, perception cannot be removed from awareness. It is not apart from awareness. Due to these two factors, that my apparatus is required for perception and perception is dependent on my awareness, the standpoint of Vedanta is, that is why this has no intrinsic existence as a table in itself. It is dependent on these two factors to be perceived as a table. At first glance, this may be a little hard for you to digest, but think about it and it will become very clear. You must only give it more thought. Nothing has intrinsic existence except consciousness, because that does not require anything to validate its existence. Everything else requires awareness to become perceptible as that thing, and it is of course limited by your senses to be perceived as that thing. So, due to this simple fact, they say that intrinsic existence, essential existence or absolute existence belongs only to the Atman, only to consciousness. Everything else functions on borrowed awareness, borrowed existence. So, this is a huge theory in Vedanta, which explains why the world is considered unreal. Unreal in the sense like this, dependent on something for its existence. The term mithya does not mean it does not exist. It appears as this in your consciousness, not that it is not there. We always, mithya has been a very corrupt word. It has been used in a very wrong way for many centuries actually. Mithya essentially means, as that thing, it holds only dependent existence. This is the meaning. It is a very technical term, that is why it should not be used glibly. So, by using it glibly, we made a mess of many things actually. But now we should understand, since you are well trained in science, you must catch these subtle points. What are they trying to mean by saying something is unreal? Not that it does not exist. It is an appearance to your consciousness as that particular thing. This is all they are trying to tell you. It is an appearance, just like how you can say color is an appearance of electromagnetic radiation, isn't it? It does not exist apart from electromagnetic radiation, does it? There is nothing called color as such. It is nothing but electromagnetic radiation which is perceived as color by your equipment. So also is everything else. Essentially, consciousness being perceived as that particular thing in your perception through your senses. So, that is how they are trying to understand. That is why in Vedanta you will find sentences like subject and object both appear in consciousness. Everything is an appearance in consciousness. This is what they are trying to mean. If you have caught the essential point, what intrinsic existence means and how it belongs to consciousness alone, everything else has extrinsic existence, dependent existence, you will understand what they are trying to say through all these sentences. Now, the thought experiment which I told you, right here we are going to perform, sit straight all of you, because to understand this very clearly, you need full attention. See, I will put a few questions, answer me and try to solve the thing by yourself. Tell me, when you sit still and think deeply, if I put this question to you, is my sensation limited by the boundaries of my skin? Is it true? Your sensation is limited by the boundary of your skin. Your perception is not limited by the boundary of your skin. Right? Now, what is within this skin is the body. What is outside the skin? It appears to be outside your skin, but it is never outside your awareness. Isn't it? You can be aware of a whole lot of things altogether, which means what? What does this mean? You are not limited or contained within the skin. You are using it as an instrument, functioning through it, in your awareness you are capable of grasping everything. Just now your mind can be in London. You may be perceiving a whole lot of things in your head. You are not limited by the boundaries of your body, nor are you contained within it. You are functioning through it. Nor are things different from you, in the sense anything is outside my skin but not outside my awareness. So you see, a basic, this is what is called phenomenological thinking. From my standpoint, from my experience, my thinking itself, I understood how I am functioning. This is not a theory, it's just an observation of a naturally occurring phenomenon which is happening with you all the time. Isn't this true? What we discussed just now? Now let me put to you another question. Are we a body with awareness in it, or is the body in our awareness? Are we a body with awareness in it, or is the body in our awareness? How do you feel it at any given moment of time? You always feel it as the body is in your awareness. You are fundamentally aware. In that awareness you are thinking, so you are positing a body. If you say awareness is in my body and I asked you where, point it out to me, you can't point out. In your own experience, you are fundamentally self-aware. So there is the thinking process. In that you posit entities and identify with them. Please see this, it's in your own experience. That is why body consciousness, thought, emotion, everything arises in my awareness. Awareness only can be fundamentally me. I means awareness. In that all this is happening. All my thinking, my science, my philosophy, everything is happening in my awareness. That is why I become aware of the body does not become aware of me. Isn't it? I become aware of my thoughts do not become aware of me. Isn't it? So awareness is the fundamental fact about you. Because you are self-aware, everything else follows. Human experience follows. So you see, this is the phenomenological method, how you are seeing it from your standpoint. How is anything feeling to you? Now, one more thought experiment. Do my thoughts feel like they are mine or they are me? Mine. Why? Because I know I can see that thought. Mentally, you can actually see what you have been thinking. I told you memory, metacognition, all these are proofs that there is an underlying awareness which is common to both the streams of thought. That which you thought earlier and that which you remembered later. That which you thought earlier and which you metacognized later. There is something fundamentally common between the two for you to catch that experience in memory or metacognition. So remember this, the very fact that my thoughts feel like they are mine and not me means I am the observer of that thought. I am fundamentally the awareness in which thought is appearing. So also with your body. It is yours, it is not you. Again, it's an instrument given for you to function through. Our fundamental mistake in understanding things is, we think this is me. Once you declare this is me, your thought will stop there, it will not go further. You tend to identify even with objects, not just with body. So this, because there is no investigation, that is why self-inquiry, this existential inquiry is at the heart of Vedanta. It is at the heart of understanding the reality about something. If you go and identify first and foremost, your thinking will stop there. You get involved in that identification. From that, you will get identified with objects all around you. So that stops all level of investigation and inquiry. That is why alertness is the first thing required for this kind of research. You must be alert and alive to the depths of your being. And then you inquire properly, the inquiry itself will lead you within. It will lead you to the source of your mind, source of your thinking process. So, this is how existential inquiry is what we call Vedanta, which is today's, philosophically speaking, what is called phenomenology, phenomenological method of inquiry. So, this is the first person method which is usually followed in Yoga and Vedanta. Let me ask you one more question. Since we are doing it, let us do it properly. See, you have experiences where you are referring to yourself totally apart from your body. I had told you about the dream experience in one of the classes. You can be identified with some other personality in your dream. And you are so identified with that personality, you have the body of that personality, and your eye sense is continuing to be the same, because you are saying, I am identified with that particular personality. So, you can refer to yourself as a continuum, a continuity without special reference to one particular body. What does this mean? Your eye sense is always apart from the body. When it is identified with another body, you became the superstar, cricket superstar in your dream, you identified with another body, but the eye sense is the same, which means you have this capacity to refer to yourself quite apart from the physical body. This is such a magical thing. Just think about it and see. Your eye, that is why Vedanta tells you there is nothing which is, these two are not coexistent, the body and your eye sense. They are two separately functioning entities. The eye is functioning through the body-mind complex. You mistook the body and the mind to be I. This is your problem. Because of non-investigation, non-inquiry, in your own experience all the time, the I is completely apart from the body. The two don't coexist. So, I am the body idea has no basis in truth. But you see, this is a phenomenon so widespread. Everybody is only identified with the body. It appears to be so. But a little investigation in a very calm, sattvic state of mind will take you naturally into this. Always your eye sense sees the body as an object, the mind as an object. It is always objective to your experience. You, the experience, are always the awareness that is becoming conscious of the body and mind, that is seeing it objectively. In your own experience, this is all the time happening. You didn't investigate it. That's the only problem. So, like this, phenomenological inquiry goes like this. You see, isn't this interesting? How do you get the feel of an experience? Another phenomenological question. What gives you the feel of an experience? See, the beauty of a sunset, the sweetness of a cake, the color of a bright flower, it simply hits you as a very conscious experience. What is responsible for that experience? Somewhere, because you are a self-aware entity, you are experiencing that thing. Video cameras, all these gadgets around you can catch a memory, a picture of that thing, but cannot experience it because they are not self-aware. Awareness is at the heart of experience. Just through phenomenological inquiry, you can find out the profundity of the human conscious experience comes from the fact of awareness. So, this is how this particular qualitative approach, method of inquiry goes.